Good morning. This is Live Lunch with Laz without live and without lunch, but we are lucky to have Jeffrey Zaslow, the known author of The Girls from Ames, The Last Lecture, and Highest Duty. And Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Sam. I see you've got the book very well decorated there.
I do. This is careful annotation.
Wow.
And actually, I spent the weekend with Jeff. He didn't know it, but I was reading Highest Duty, which I hadn't had a chance to read.
And my wife didn't know it either, so.
That's good. We won't tell Sherry. Stu, you don't hear this either. And also then rereading The Girls from Ames. So we're so grateful that you and the National Council of Jewish Women and the JCC made it possible for us to have you.
Well, I appreciate them bringing me in here to speak at the JCC, the book fair last night. So.
Well, you had a presentation last night, and I understand it was just a BAFO success. Is that?
Oh, complete BAFO success. That was good. How could I answer that question about the BAFO success?
Wow.
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 I
Okay.
enjoyed meeting everybody. It was nice. Not many men. Are there men living in Columbus?
There are two.
There's two.
So
Okay.
we kind
I
of-
saw they were here last
That's
night. Mostly
right.
women.
Well, one of the interesting things, and you talk about it in the book some, is this idea of you writing a book about women's friendships. And
Yeah.
you talk about kind of questioning yourself and presuming that other people question that as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was like an outsider. I was, in an alien world a little bit. And I think if a woman had decided to write this book, she would think she knew friendship. She'd know her own friends. She'd know how she feels as a woman. And I just didn't know anything. And so I was very naive, and I would ask a lot of stupid questions, and the women would roll their eyes. But I think that gave me a wider canvas, because I would just ask and ask maybe questions that a woman wouldn't ask.
Yeah, I remember you talking about them rolling their eyes, and,
Yeah.
and want to congratulate you on the fortitude to survive the
Oh, they were
eye rolling.
horrible. It was a horrible experience.
But I wanted to go back to the idea to do this book, because you sat on it for 3 years.
Yes.
It came out of a column that you had done about women's friendships.
Yes, in 2003, I write about life transitions, and in 2003 I wrote a column for the Wall Street Journal about how women's friendships are so much stronger than men's friendships. And I heard from about 250 women telling me about their groups of friends, and I always print out emails when I get them, thinking I'll use them someday. And I put them in the bottom of a drawer, and then 3 years later I thought maybe there's a book in sort of the biography of a group of women and their friendship. And so I went through all the emails and picked about 10 that might be interesting, and the Ames girls were especially moving to me, and so I ended up writing about them.
And I wonder, because you mentioned that Jenny, who's the girl from Ames who wrote you the email, that her email was not that detailed or
No.
that kind of exciting, but somehow, what was it about it that led you to want to follow up?
Well, she said that there were 11 of them, and they were in their mid-40s. I like that they were in their mid-40s for starters, because I thought women in their 20s and 30s could identify with them, and women who were older could identify. If I'd picked women in their 80s, they might have had 60 years together, but it wouldn't have resonated with younger women. So I liked their age. They said one of the 11 had died in her 20s mysteriously. I was interested in that. They said Carla, her daughter, had leukemia at the time she wrote to me, and she said they'd all rallied around Christy, Carla's daughter, and so I was moved by that. They said, Jenny said that they laughed so hard they have trouble making it to the bathroom. As a reporter, I thought that would be fun to see.
Yeah.
So I called them one by one. First I called Jenny, and then she set me up with everybody. I called a bunch of groups of women, but when I got in with the Ames women, I called them one by one, spoke to each of them for about an hour, and then we decided to move forward.
I mean, that had to be a gigantic leap of faith for them to open themselves and their friendships up to you.
It was. It took a lot of trust, and the book almost fell apart last summer because some of them all of them gave me letters they'd written and notes they'd passed in class. They're great chroniclers of their lives, and one woman gave me 6 years of her diary from middle school through college, and so I knew a lot of stuff. And I wrote a first draft, and they read it, and they flipped out because there were things in there even things they told me, like to see it in print. So they sort of rallied together, saying that the friendship was more important than the book. And so the book almost, if I didn't take things out of the book, they would have walked away. And so we really I'm grateful that they saw it through to the end, but I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
So.
Because you came so close to losing it?
It was just hard. I mean, of the 3 books I've written recently, this was by far the hardest, because you're dealing with women in their lives, and it's not just about the 11 of them; it's their families, and I understand it's real people. It's not a novel.
One of the things that you mentioned is a sense of urgency that you felt about your own daughters and wanting to have some sense of friendships as it relates to your desire to be a good parent?
Yeah. Having daughters, I mean, I know they need women in their lives for the rest of their lives. I mean, I know how, looking at all the research, you know, a woman with friends is happier, healthier. They say that a woman who has, in her old age, who has one friend is better than 6 grandchildren in terms of her health. Mm-hmm. So I was interested in that. And I, you know, I've seen mean girls in my daughter's lives, and I want to bring their little necks. And the mean girls, not my daughter. And I see how how girls have been so there for them through their lives. So I think that was one reason I wanted to do it.
When you think back to where you began with talking with those women in the first 1-hour conversations, what surprised you the most in spending the time with them and watching?
You mean at the very beginning? What surprised?
No, through the whole process. So from what you thought you were going to have when you had those first conversations to the experiences that you had and what you observed.
Well, they love each other and they get on each other's nerves, and they care a lot about the friendship, and they hurt each other's feelings more easily. Men, it's a totally different thing. I mean, men, if you're, I play poker every Thursday night, and we don't care about any of their feelings, or if we insult each other, it rolls off our backs. And I said here last night that we don't even know the kids' names of the other guys in the card game, and I thought I was exaggerating that. Uh-huh. But a few weeks ago, I said to the guy to my left, his name is Lance, I said, Lance, could you name my children? And he said, I could rename them. So that's the male friendship. But women care deeply. It's a visceral thing, women and their friends.
In describing your friendship with the guys, you said 80% of the conversation is about poker.
Yes.
And the phrase that you used was, women's friendships are face-to-face and men's are side-to-side.
Yeah, and that's not my phrase. That's the researchers say that. Men are doing things together. They're playing golf, they're playing poker. And women are talking to each other. And so, and I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of emails since the book came out where women just tell me about their husbands and they're not really connecting with their friends in the same way.
Did this make you want to have that kind of relationship in your life?
No. No, I think I've...
Oh, don't hedge, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, I admire and envy their friendship, but as a man, that's not the way I go. I have friends. It's just, and I mean, there are men who've written to me and said they have these close bonds and they talk about real things, but I think men are built differently, and I don't exactly need. I have a friend who says, I said this last night too, who says I love you at the end of every conversation, a male friend. Uh-huh. But it really gives me the willies, and I don't even like him anymore.
So we'll keep our farewell pretty
right.
objective today. The phrase that they use in promoting the book is it's a story of a group of ordinary women who build an extraordinary friendship. Yeah. Do you still think it's extraordinary, or do you think it is?
Well, that's a good question. No, by the definition of all the emails. If you go on the Girls from Ames website, mm-hmm. there's about more than 300 women have written about their own friends, and they're all extraordinary. I have 300 women telling me about their groups of friends all over the country, mm-hmm. and so it's extraordinary in the sense that they've been together 40 years, they've remained together, and they've got a special story to tell. But so do a lot of groups of friends. I mean, I probably could have picked another email out of that pile and told a beautiful story.
One of the questions that I had in reading about it was, you talk about part of the value is that these women knew each other as young girls, and so there's kind of no changing who they are at their core.
Yes.
But for those of us who have changed a lot, isn't there also kind of, at times, being stuck where you were Kelly, the rebellious one?
You're asking good questions.
Thank you. I worked on this.
Yeah. Well, what they meant that in the sense that you can't, like Jenny, there's a scene in the book where Jenny goes away to college for 6 weeks in South Carolina, mm-hmm. and comes back with a Southern accent, and they told her, cut it out, Jenny, who the hell do you think you are? So they know, and even now, they know, it's embarrassing, that they know their most embarrassing moments as kids, which keeps them grounded. But yeah, they've changed in their life. And Kelly, you're talking about, she's out there in the friendship, but she's still the same as she was in that respect. But they don't live in the same town now. So they don't know everything about each other.